Welcome to TruthLens. Today we're exploring a popular belief. Do we only use 10% of our brains? You've probably heard this claim before, but is it true? In this episode, we'll break down the origins of this idea and what science really says about brain function. The 10% myth has been around for over a century, but where did it come from? Some trace it back to psychologist William James in the late 19th century, who suggested that people only reach a fraction of their mental potential. However, he never claimed that we only use 10% of our brains. This idea may have been exaggerated and simplified over time, turning into the myth we know today. Others believe that the myth gained traction due to early neurological studies. In the early 20th century, researchers were still learning about the brain, and the functions of large portions of the brain weren't yet understood. Some assumed these areas were unused, reinforcing the 10% idea. But as neuroscience advanced, we've learned that this couldn't be further from the truth. Now let's talk about how the brain actually works. The human brain is an incredibly complex organ, made up of about 86 billion neurons. Each neuron can have thousands of connections with other neurons, creating an intricate network that controls everything we do, from breathing to solving complex math problems. When we say use, we're referring to the activity of neurons. While it's true that not all neurons are firing at once, this doesn't mean the brain is inactive. Different tasks activate different areas of the brain. For example, when you're reading, areas related to language processing light up, while when you're moving, motor areas are active. Modern brain imaging techniques, such as functional MRI, fMRI, and PET scans, have allowed scientists to observe brain activity in real time. These scans show that nearly all parts of the brain have some level of activity, even when we're resting or asleep. There's no single area of the brain that's entirely dormant. Moreover, the brain uses about 20% of the body's energy, despite making up only 2% of the body's weight. If we only use 10% of our brain, it would be incredibly inefficient for the body to allocate so much energy to it. Evolutionarily speaking, it doesn't make sense for such a vital organ to remain mostly unused. Another point to consider is what happens when the brain is damaged. Injuries to even small areas of the brain can have significant effects on behavior, motor skills, or cognitive abilities. If we only use 10% of our brains, damage to other areas wouldn't matter as much. But that's clearly not the case. Every part of the brain has a role, whether it's controlling movement, processing sensory information, or regulating emotions. So if the science is so clear, why does the myth persist? Part of it may be due to the appeal of the idea. The thought that we have untapped potential just waiting to be unlocked is compelling. It suggests that with the right training or technology, we could become much smarter, faster, or more creative. This idea has been popularized in movies like Lucy and Limitless, where characters gain superhuman abilities by accessing the unused parts of their brains. Additionally, the 10% myth is easy to understand and repeat, making it a convenient shorthand for the concept of untapped potential. However, this oversimplification doesn't reflect the true complexity of the brain. While the 10% figure is a myth, it's true that we don't always use our brains to their full potential. Cognitive training, education, and mental exercises can help improve brain function. But this doesn't mean activating an unused 90%. Instead, it means enhancing the efficiency and connectivity of the neural networks we already use. Neuroscientists are continually discovering more about brain plasticity, the ability of the brain to change and adapt throughout life. Learning new skills, practicing mindfulness, and staying mentally active are all ways to harness the brain's natural potential, without needing to access any mythical unused portion. In conclusion, the idea that we only use 10% of our brains is a myth that doesn't hold up under scientific scrutiny. We use all parts of our brain, just not all at once. The brain is always active, even when we're resting. Rather than focusing on the idea of unlocking unused potential, it's more productive to think about how we can optimize the brain we already use. Thanks for watching. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on more myth-busting content. See you in the next episode of TruthLens.